Hey everyone, and welcome back to AI Paper Podcasts. Today we are diving into a super interesting paper. It just came out on March 4th, 2025. It's called Nature-Inspired Population-Based Evolution of Large Language Models.
Yeah, it's a pretty big one. Instead of looking at LLMs individually, this paper looks at evolving them as a population, like applying Darwinian principles to the world of AI.
Survival of the fittest for LLMs. That's pretty cool. But we already have tons of fine-tuned LLMs, each specializing in different tasks. Why do we need to treat them as a population?
Well, because this unlocks a whole new level of adaptability. You can imagine a world where LLMs can quickly evolve to tackle new unseen tasks without the need for these huge datasets or time-consuming training. That's the promise of this research.
Okay, so for all our viewers who need the TLDR, here's the 1-minute breakdown. This paper introduces a new approach to evolving LLMs as a population, not just as individual models. The researchers have developed a framework called Genome, inspired by genetic algorithms, where an LLM's weights are treated like genes that determine its capabilities.
Genome uses operations like crossover to merge weights from different LLMs' mutation to introduce random changes and selection to pick the best performing models for a given task. They also introduced Genome Plus, which adds succession, allowing LLMs to learn from past generations, and ensemble, combining the outputs of top models for even better results.
And get this, they're able to achieve these remarkable results with just 200 training samples. No more endless fine-tuning with gigantic data sets.
It's incredibly efficient, and the results are really impressive. They tested Genome Plus on 12 different data sets covering a wide range of tasks, and it consistently outperformed other state-of-the-art methods.
Okay, so that's a quick summary. Now let's get into the details. You mentioned this idea of Genome being inspired by genetic algorithms. Can you unpack that for us a bit?
Sure. The researchers make this clever analogy between biological evolution and LLM development. They map LLM weights to genes' task performance to fitness and weight updates to evolutionary operations like crossover and mutation.
So it's like breeding LLMs, selecting the strongest performers, and passing on their desirable traits to the next generation.
Exactly. And just like in nature, this process leads to a population of LLMs that are increasingly well adapted to their environment, in this case, the specific tasks they're being asked to perform.
Okay, let's talk about those tasks. You mentioned 12 different data sets. What kind of challenges did they throw at Genome Plus G?
Oh, they covered a really broad spectrum, from general knowledge and question answering to mathematical reasoning and code generation. They even tested its ability to reason over text and answer complex questions from the Dedropia dataset.
And how did it perform?
It consistently outshone the competition, including some pretty sophisticated methods like model swarms, which uses particle swarm optimization.
For those of us who aren't familiar with particle swarm optimization, can you give us a quick rundown?
Sure. Imagine a flock of birds searching for food. Each bird explores the landscape, sharing information with its neighbors about the best feeding spots it finds. Over time, the flock converges on the optimal solution. Particle swarm optimization applies this principle to finding the best solution in a complex search space.
So in the context of LLMs, each bird is a different configuration of model weights, and they're all working together to find the best combination for a given task.
Exactly. And while model swarms is a powerful technique, Genome Plus consistently outperformed it, suggesting that there's something unique and advantageous about applying evolutionary principles to LLM development.
Now, I'm curious about this Genome Plus you mentioned. What sets it apart from the basic genome framework?
Well, Genome Plus takes the core concepts of genome and adds two powerful operations, succession and ensemble. Succession allows LLMs to learn not only from their parents, but also from the best and worst performers in previous generations.
It's like giving them access to a historical record of successes and failures. They can learn from the collective experience of the entire population, not just their immediate ancestors.
Precisely. And then there's ensemble, which leverages the wisdom of the crowd. Instead of relying on a single best model, Genome Plus combines the outputs of the top-performing models to produce the final answer.
It's like a team of expert LLMs collaborating to solve a problem, each bringing their unique strengths to the table.
That's a great way to put it. And the results really speak for themselves. Genome Plus consistently outperformed Genome, demonstrating the power of collective intelligence in LLM evolution.
So we've established that Genome Plus is doing some really impressive things. But let's dig into those results a bit more. You mentioned it excelled at reasoning-intensive tasks. What specifically caught your eye?
We'll take a look at the performance on the drop dataset, which focuses on reasoning over paragraphs of text. Genome Plus achieved a 54.8% increase in accuracy compared to the best individual expert model. That's massive.
Wow, that's a huge leap. What kind of reasoning challenges does DROP present, and how did Genome Plus manage to crack them?
So DROP is designed to test an LLM's ability to understand complex relationships within text, perform numerical calculations, and answer questions that require multi-step reasoning. It's a tough nut to crack, even for highly trained LLMs.
So how did Genome Plus manage to outperform other methods, even those using sophisticated optimization techniques like model swarms?
Well, the paper doesn't pinpoint a single reason, but the researchers suggest that the population-based approach allows Genome Plus to explore a wider range of potential solutions. It's like having a team of diverse problem solvers working together, each bringing their unique strengths and perspectives to the table.
So it's not just about finding the single best model, but rather cultivating a population of models that can collectively tackle complex challenges.
Exactly. And the results on other reasoning-intensive tasks like BBH, which tests logical reasoning, further support this hypothesis. Genome Plus consistently demonstrated significant gains in these areas.
Now, you mentioned that the improvements were less pronounced for tasks like question answering and general knowledge. Any insights into why that might be?
That's a great question. The researchers hypothesized that the nature of these tasks might play a role. They dug a little deeper into this by analyzing the MMLU Pro dataset, which covers a really wide range of topics.
And what did they find?
They observed that all the dynamic methods, including Genome Plus, showed much higher improvement rates on reasoning-based tasks compared to knowledge-based ones. This suggests that current dynamic methods are particularly well-suited for tasks that demand logical thinking and problem-solving, as opposed to simply retrieving factual information.
So while Genome Plus can definitely improve performance across a variety of tasks, its real strength seems to lie in areas that require higher-level cognitive abilities.
Yeah, that seems to be the case, at least for now. It highlights an exciting area for future research. If we want LLMs to be truly versatile, we need to explore ways to make them better at acquiring and applying knowledge, not just reasoning about it.
So perhaps future iterations of Genome Plus could incorporate mechanisms for integrating external knowledge bases or developing more robust internal representations of knowledge.
Yeah, that's a very promising direction. It'd be fascinating to see how those enhancements could further boost performance on knowledge-intensive tasks. Now, moving beyond single-task scenarios, the researchers also wanted to see how Genome Plus would perform when faced with multiple tasks simultaneously.
That's a much more realistic scenario, right?
Yeah.
In real-world applications, LLMs rarely encounter problems in isolation.
Absolutely. So they designed a series of experiments involving 5 different domains, each consisting of 2 tasks. They challenged the dynamic methods to adapt to both tasks concurrently, which proved to be a tougher challenge.
So how did Genome Plus hold up?
Well, while Genome and Genome Plus were still able to achieve performance comparable to the single-task scenarios, other dynamic methods struggled, showing varying degrees of performance degradation.
So it seems that population-based approach provides a degree of robustness that other methods lack.
Exactly. It's like having a team of specialists working together, each with their strengths and weaknesses. Collectively, they can cover a wider range of challenges and adapt more effectively to changing circumstances.
It's a testament to the power of diversity and collaboration, even in the world of AI. Now, aside from performance on known tasks, the researchers also explored the generalization capabilities of Genome Plus Dinner. Tell us about those experiments.
Okay, so they had 2 main setups: cross-dataset transfer and unseen language adaptation. For cross-dataset transfer, they trained a dynamic method on one task and tested its performance on a related but unseen task without any additional training data.
So it's like seeing if an LLM that's learned to play chess can figure out how to play checkers without explicitly being taught the rules.
A perfect analogy. And they found that Genome and Genome Plus were the clear winners, exhibiting a greater ability to transfer their knowledge to new domains.
What about unseen language adaptation?
For this, they used the Flores 101 dataset, which includes 64 languages that the original Gemma 2 model wasn't trained on. Essentially, they wanted to see if Genome Plus could help LLMs break the language barrier.
That's a significant challenge. How did they fare?
Well, while some methods struggled, Genome and Genome Plus both showed impressive improvements, even surpassing their gains on the Flores 37 dataset, which included languages the model had encountered during pre-training.
So it seems that Genome Plus not only excels at solving problems within a specific domain, but also at transferring that knowledge to new, unfamiliar domains, even across language barriers. That's really remarkable.
It really is. Now, we've talked a lot about performance, but efficiency is equally important. How well does this approach scale as the population size increases?
That's a key consideration, especially if we're envisioning populations of hundreds or even thousands of LLMs.
Absolutely. To test scalability, they compared Genome Plus with model swarms increasing the population size from 10 to 40 models across 3 different tasks. All 3 methods showed performance improvements as the population size grew, but Genome Plus consistently outperformed model swarms, showcasing its ability to effectively leverage the collective wisdom of a larger population.
So bigger teams lead to better results. It's a principle that seems to hold true whether you're talking about humans or LLMs. But all this raises a question. Does Genome Plus require massive computational resources to achieve these impressive results?
That's a crucial question, especially for researchers and developers who might not have access to giant server farms. And here's the good news. They were able to reproduce their key findings using a single 4090 GPU with 24 GB of memory.
So even with relatively modest hardware, researchers can still experiment with these cutting-edge techniques. That's fantastic for accessibility and democratizing access to this research.
I agree. Now, before we wrap up this segment, let's take a closer look at the individual components of Genome Plus DGE. You mentioned that each operation plays a crucial role. How did the researchers determine the contribution of each part?
That's a good point. It's like a well-oiled machine. But how do we know which cogs are the most critical?
To understand the importance of each operation, they conducted ablation studies. They systematically removed one operation at a time and observed the impact on overall performance.
So like removing a piece of a puzzle and seeing how the picture changes. What did they learn from these ablation studies?
Well, they found that removing any of the operations led to a decrease in performance, but some had a more significant impact than others. For instance, removing the selection operation caused the most dramatic drop in performance.
That makes sense. Selection is the driving force of evolution. Without it, the population wouldn't be pressured to evolve towards better solutions.
Precisely. It would be like having a garden and never weeding out the weaker plants. The removal of the ensemble operation also significantly impacted performance, especially on the drop dataset. This highlights the power of combining the outputs of multiple expert models rather than relying on a single best model.
So diversity and collaboration are key even at the level of individual outputs.
Exactly. And while the impact of the other operations, initialization, crossover, mutation, and succession, was less dramatic, their removal still led to a noticeable decrease in performance. It demonstrates that Genome Plus is a truly synergistic system, with each component working in concert to drive the evolution of the LLM population.
So we've spent this episode unpacking this fascinating research on population-based evolution of LLMs, and it's clear that Genome Plus is showing a lot of promise.
Yeah, we've seen how it outperforms other cutting-edge methods and exhibits remarkable adaptability and efficiency.
But what does this all mean for the future of LLMs? Are we on the cusp of a paradigm shift in how we develop and deploy these models?
I think we are. If we can reliably evolve LLMs to adapt to new tasks on the fly with minimal data and computational overhead, it opens up a whole world of possibilities.
Imagine a future where LLMs seamlessly integrate into specialized domains like scientific research or financial modeling, constantly evolving and adapting to new challenges and data streams.
Exactly. Instead of training separate LLMs for each specific task, we could have populations of LLMs that continually evolve and specialize, becoming experts in their respective fields.
That would be a game changer for fields like drug discovery or materials science, where researchers could leverage evolving LLMs to analyze massive data sets and generate novel hypotheses.
And think about the potential for personalized learning. Imagine LLMs that can adapt to each student's individual learning style and pace, providing tailored educational experiences.
It's a future where LLMs become more like partners in discovery and learning rather than just tools that we use.
But with this level of integration and adaptability come new challenges as well. We need to carefully consider the ethical implications of evolving LLMs.
Right, how do we ensure that these evolving populations of LLMs remain aligned with human values and goals? How do we prevent biases from emerging or being amplified through the evolutionary process?
These are crucial questions that researchers and developers need to address head-on. We need to develop robust mechanisms for monitoring and controlling the evolution of LLMs, ensuring that they remain beneficial and trustworthy.
It's a responsibility that extends beyond the research community as well. Policymakers and society as a whole need to engage in these conversations, shaping the ethical framework for this rapidly evolving field.
Absolutely. This research is a powerful reminder that the future of AI is not predetermined. It's something that we actively shape through our choices and actions.
This paper has given us a glimpse into a future where LLMs are no longer static entities, but dynamic, evolving populations capable of remarkable adaptability and problem solving.
It's a future filled with both immense potential and profound responsibility. And it's a future that we all have a stake in shaping.
Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the world of evolving LLMs. We hope you found it insightful and thought-provoking.
And remember, the future of AI is in our hands. Let's work together to ensure that it's a future that benefits all of humanity.
That's it for this episode of AI Paper Podcasts. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible.